And this is the favorite part about Skype, trying to figure out when it's actually recording. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Thrashers Paradise. As I am joined with a very special guest, I'm joined with Miss Mercedes Landers of the White Swan and Kitty. Mercedes, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm wonderful. How are you?
Very excited, nervous, but really excited for this interview. So
Good. You don't have to be nervous at all. I'm just regular girl sitting in her office.
excellent. With all that out of the way, let's get right into it. Nocturnal Transmission, the brand new White Swan EP that came out on September 18th, 2020. What was it like to get that EP out into the world?
Well, it's kind of interesting because the way that the cookie crumbled is, I guess, we recorded the record in December of 2019. And then as it just so happens, by the time we were getting ready to start prepping to, talk about release and stuff like that, COVID-19 happened. So, it was February by the time, we started hearing about it and COVID-19. And so I was just kind of like, well, I guess I'm going to sit on this and see what happens. So I sat on it and I sat on it, and March happened. And then April happened, and then May happened, and then I was just like, okay, this is enough. This is enough. I feel like this is going to go on forever. If I don't do something now, I'm never going to do it. So I contacted my good old friend Steve, who released the previous White Swan vinyl. He's from War Crime Records. And I asked Steve, I said, hey, Steve, you want to do another record? And he was like, I don't know. Let me check and see, because, things are a little up in the air right now. And then he came back with a resounding yes. And then we started prepping for that. So it was everything we basically done in preparation was, of course, all done, separate. And with the exception of the 2 videos that we shot for our 2 singles. But yeah. So it's been very interesting, that's for sure. Never thought I would release a record without playing any shows. So, surprise.
I like how you did bring up the singles. Now, the first single you did release was In Love and Ritual. What made you want to pick that song to be the first one that fans heard?
So it's really hard for me to make those choices, by the way, because, usually there's like at least 1 or 2 songs that stick out for me. And I think for me, I really had a vision for Tell It to the Sky and what I wanted the video to look like and like the color scheme of it, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And when working with 331 Arts, my friend Mike, who ended up shooting the video with his company, Mike and Tyler, 331 Arts, they do great stuff, by the way, if you're in the London, Ontario area. But anyway, so when I was discussing it with Mike, I was like, I don't even know what song I want to do this, but for this song, for this first video, I think we want to just do like a gritty black and white video. And I told him, I said, do you remember the mirror image on like the old Macs, where you had like you could like take cool pictures so that like were different colors and stuff?
Okay, yeah.
So anyway, I was like, do you remember like the double image where you would tilt your head in and then your head would melt into your other head? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, I want that. And he was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So I Googled it. And then I found a screen capture of like an old YouTube video. And then I sent it to him and he was like, okay, I get it. So yeah, and then we just shot the videos and for In Love and Ritual, and then we ended up releasing it, which was super cool.
Awesome. I love how you brought up music videos because that does lead into the next question. What was it like for you as an experienced musician to record 2 music videos during this pandemic?
So the first one was right after we entered stage 2 of reopening here in London, Ontario. So the way that works here is that you were allowed to do some things, but not other things. So that video, so I teach yoga, and I'm a spin instructor as well, because my spin bike is actually like, can you see that right there? Anyway, so I have access to a lot of weird places and big spaces. So both of the videos were shot. So the first video for In Love and Ritual was actually shot at a gym that I teach yoga at, or I used to teach yoga at. The gyms weren't open yet. So I messaged the owner of the gym. They're a very nice, lovely couple. And they own OEV Fitness. So Oldies Village Fitness, which is Oldies Village is kind of the neighborhood that we all kind of live in. Anyway, so I was like, hey, you're not doing anything with your gym right now. Can I use it one night? And she was like, oh, yeah, go ahead. And she's like, what do you need it for? I was like, I'm going to shoot a video. And she was like, oh, yeah, go ahead. So we went in there at like, I don't know, it was like 9:00 at night. And then we shot some video. I rented some lights and stuff like that. We shot a really super DIY video. It was just Perry, our live drummer, myself, Kira, Shane, and then Mike and Tyler, and that's it. So it was just, the 6 of us, which was really super nice. Or yeah, 6. It was definitely 6 of us. Super nice. Not a whole lot of people. Mike and Tyler wore masks the entire time, and yeah, it was super great. I enjoyed myself. And for the other video that was shot at a yoga studio that I teach at, and I also teach spin there, and their basement is really creepy. And it's like a super old, 120-year-old building that they made into a hot heated yoga studio, and the place is called True For You. And I just asked the owner, I said, hey, can I borrow your basement, your creepy basement, this weekend? And she was like, yeah. So we went in there, shot, got everything, done in a couple hours. And again, like everybody wore masks and stuff like that. And we distanced as best as possible. And it worked out very well. So socially distant video shoots are actually pretty easily done.
Awesome. Now, for you personally, when it came to actually writing and figuring out the album itself, what for you was the hardest song to kind of create?
They're all hard. I have and I realize that I have a problem, and my problem is that nothing is ever good enough. And so I will, if I had limited time and limited resources, we'd still be writing the first record. Like and we're on EP4. So like, just think about that. If I had the time and the resources, I would just be rewriting stuff all the time, because I have a hard time with, I don't like the way my voice sounds. I think I'm a shit singer. Like there's all sorts of stuff, right? So it's I would still be at EP1. But because I have to, we have to pay people to record, and we have to actually, go into a studio to record and stuff like that. That gives me a time constraint that I would not have if I could do this all myself. So that's kind of a good thing that I have this, this time looming over me, telling me, hey, you got to get this done now, and this is going to be good enough. But like, I do shit, like I will like Purple, for instance, on Nocturnal Transmission. I wrote that song a week. It was a completely different song, and I rewrote it a week before we went. And Shane came over one day, and because I had messaged them, I was like, "Hey, I completely wrote this song again, so you need to come over and jam it with me, like maybe once or twice before we go and record it." And I do that like pretty much every recording. Like it's like I just kind of like I'm like, "Hey, this song's really different now. Sorry, you have like 3 days."
I'm sorry, but
I know it's funny.
It's funny and it's kind of cool just to kind of just listen to you go on and me understand what's kind of going on in your head when it is creating your music.
There's a lot going on.
I do have to say this. I think Nocturnal Transmissions. I remembered it. Nocturnal Transmissions. I think is an amazing EP. I loved it from the first track to the last. I thought it was very solid and a great doom metal album. Mm-hmm. Now, one of the key attractions for me when it comes to doom metal is the very unique album artwork that does come along with it. Mm-hmm. For you, what kind of led you in the direction to have what is now the Nocturnal Transmissions artwork be said that?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that, because so for the first 3 EPs, we had different artists that we kind of used for Anubis, The White, and Touch, Taste, Destroy. I had to think about what those were called. It's okay. I'm not the only one, or you're not the only one who forgets stuff. Don't worry. I should know this, though. But anyway, so we used a different artist, and that kind of just, we wanted to new. So I was on Instagram one day, scrolling, and I basically came across this this profile that was a collage artist. And I was like, well, this is cool. And so I clicked on her profile and I was like, I really like this stuff. And I'm like scrolling through her. And then I came across the image that later became the Nocturnal Transmission album cover. And I was like, I'm messaging her right now. So I sent her a message and I was like, hey, is this available? And she was like, oh yeah. And I was like, well, I'm going to give you money for it. And I'd like to use it for an album cover. And she was like, yeah, that's great. So like literally this is months before we even recorded the album. So we were still, so I saw this image and I was just like, oh, I need this. So, so I messaged her and I was like, hey, can I buy this from you? And she's like, yeah, that's fine. So I gave her money and then she sent me high-res copies. And then I started messing around with changing the logo, and I created a new logo for this particular album. And I really liked, I don't know how I did it, but I just kind of like opened Photoshop on my computer and just kind of messed around with some stuff. And so I actually ended up making that new logo. And then after that, it was just for like all the fonts and stuff like that for the album. I have a couple, I messaged one of the guys from a podcast called Necronomipod. I don't know if you're familiar.
That is an awesome podcast name.
Yeah. So I messaged them because they had recently put out a shirt that had the Zodiac font.
Okay.
And I was like this Zodiac killer. If you're, I don't know, for all the people out there that may not know what I'm talking about. So they had the Zodiac killer font on a shirt, and I messaged one of the guys and I was like, hey, where'd you get that font from? And he was like, oh, I'll just send it to you. So anyway, thanks, Ian. So Ian sent me from Necronomipod. He sent me a copy of the font, and then so we used it for the front cover and the back cover. So pretty cool stuff. It was just basically a mishmash of stuff, but it all started with that one photo that I found from. Her name is Caitlin Gerbenstein, I think. I think it's Caitlin Gerbenstein. But anyway, yeah, she's an amazing artist, and I will probably bother her at some point to make me more stuff.
For the next EP, I assume.
Absolutely, yes.
Now, we keep talking about this EP, but I'm kind of curious, what inspired its name?
Do you want me to be honest with you?
Sure.
I was sounded really funny. The name came, it's kind of a play on words, but because I'm ridiculous and funny sometimes, not a lot, but only sometimes. But anyway, so Purple, was it Purple? That Nocturnal Transmission, the song Nocturnal Transmission was originally called Night Drives. And so Night Drives was basically, that's kind of where I got the name Nocturnal Transmission, because your Night Drives was basically about taking a really long road trip in your car at 4 a.m. and discovering things about your passenger. So that basically kind of was derived from that. But I also thought it sounded really catchy and kind of hilarious.
Awesome. Now, one thing that your band Kitty and the White Swan do have in common is you both have released a cover song. And White Swan did a cover of Paul McCartney's Jet.
Mm-hmm.
For you, what made you want to cover that song with White Swan?
So Jet was one of like the first songs that we ended up kind of, because it was on Anubis. Jet was like one of those songs that I had on my list of things that I wanted to, songs that I always wanted to cover but never got to. And I was like, well, this is clearly the opportunity for me to do that. So I basically, one day was driving somewhere, who knows, in my truck, and the song came on the radio. I actually listen to a lot of radio still, because a lot of people don't do that. But I was listening to some classic rock radio, and Jack came on, and I was like, this song sounds like it's in the key of A. Okay, so White Swan tunes to drop A. So I was like, I think that we could definitely heavy this song up. And I remember the distinct moment, because I was on my way home when I was like, I'm definitely this is one of the things that I'm going to be doing. Are you thinking your cat is?
Yes.
It's mine.
Okay.
He's being a jerk right now. But anyway, yeah. So I legit was just like, this is the song. We're gonna cover this song, and I think it turned out pretty good.
It, in my opinion, it did too. It's a great cover, but not my cover that you did do. Now, off of Oracle, you covered Pink Floyd's "Run Like Hell," which I continually hear on SiriusXM's Liquid Metal Channel 40's Corridor covers. And I would be upset with myself if I didn't ask you this, but what made Kitty want to cover that specific Pink Floyd song?
It's actually kind of a lame story. So, but like, clearly I'll tell you about it, because it's I don't think a lot of people know about this, but so really super early on, and I want to say that this happened even before our first record came out. We were asked to do a Pink Floyd tribute album, and we recorded a version of the song, and the tribute album fell through.
Oh.
So it never got released. So we had this song that we kind of had started to play live, because a spit is like 30 minutes or 29 minutes or whatever. Like this, a spit is not a very long record. So So we needed, some more filler for our sets, especially if we were headlining. So we started playing that, and that ended up not happening. So there's actually a whole other recording of that song that we never released, that we recorded in, like, I think it's late 1999. So yeah, weird, right? So there's a completely different, and it's pretty much the same, but I would assume. But I mean, I haven't heard it in years. I don't even know where it is. So I'd like to hear it though. I think I could probably find it if I called the right people, but maybe I don't want to listen to it. Who knows? Anyway, so, maybe it's terrible. But yeah, so we had this, and we were just like, yeah, let's just throw it on. Let's record a new version of it and put it on. Or it was on Oracle, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's what we ended up doing. But if you like, there's tons of bootlegs out there. There's bootlegs of us playing that in like early 2000 live. So yeah, so I think it was like that small piece of time. And I feel like Morgan recently posted a picture on Instagram from when we recorded that at a studio just down the street from where I live now called EMAC. And I think it was from that session that we recorded the first version of it. But yeah, super weird stuff, right? So it just kind of happened that way.
Wow, that is a really cool story. Thank you for telling me that. It's kind of like, okay, I'm now satisfied.
Now I want to hear this song. I was just like, you know what, honestly, I'm not sure where the recording of that is. If I find it, I'll let you know.
That would be awesome. Thank you very much. But back to the White Swan, as this is what we're here to discuss.
Mm-hmm.
White Swan is, from what I've seen on your Bandcamp, is known for having out vinyl records out for said EPs. What has made you want to go with the vinyls over CDs?
I just feel like we make limited runs of vinyl because the people that are going to buy that vinyl are like still into tangible stuff, but not necessarily CDs, right? If that makes sense. So the people that are going to buy vinyl are going to be collectors. They're going to be people that are really super into the band. And, we might only make like 500 or however many copies of it. And, from there, it's, usually they go pretty quick, right? I think maybe I only have like a box or two left here. And I know Steve from War Crime probably only has a box or two left. So it's for us, it's like we want to make things for the fans and stuff like that. But again, like I feel like CDs they're tangible. A lot of people really love CDs still, but they're not as like the collector-y type thing as vinyl. That's not even really a word, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean, and I've started to collect the vinyls, and I understand holding a vinyl over a CD. It just, I don't know why, but it just feels more like I look at it and I feel proud of purchasing it more than I do a CD.
So yeah, for sure. So I know like a lot of people really enjoy vinyl, and it's made a huge comeback. And it's definitely helped with like album sales and stuff like that because, as you may or may not know, artists do not get shit from digital streams. So it's just one of those things, right? Like, so, and like we like to do like small runs of stuff anyway. Like we just did a 20 shirt run. And like sold out in a couple days. I have masks that I'm going to put up next. I actually had them made quite a while ago, and I just kind of, was just like, so I'm gonna definitely put those out. Onto our Bandcamp probably in the next little while. They're the same as like as the baseball tee. They're like a gold sparkle, which is super nice.
Fancy.
Yeah, super fancy.
Now, I'm very curious about this, and I would like to ask you this. From the new metal heavyweight Kitty to being a part of a sludge doom stoner metal project, what made you want to be kind of part of that different? Uh, get You understand what I'm trying to ask, right?
Yeah. So here's the thing. I don't even think really the White Swan fits in very well with like the whole like doom community. I think I can see how we kind of like, yeah, we could probably play some shows together, but I just, like we definitely don't sound anything like fucking Weed Eater. I mean, like all of those bands are amazing, but I just feel like I I I don't think we sound like any of those bands, but we're really super heavy like those bands, if that makes sense. And for me, like I I just write what feels good, and like I'm not really setting out to, be like I'm gonna write the most doomy record ever. Um it's not really something that crosses my mind. Like sometimes I'll be like, yeah, that sounds really doomy, but it's not on my agenda, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's super cool, like that we can play with those types of bands. And I don't mind, like we're a little more melodic as well, so I don't mind sticking out like a sore thumb, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I would actually prefer it, but it's kind of nice with this band. We can kind of genre hop, if that makes sense. And I would
Mm-hmm.
prefer that anyway. We could definitely play with metal bands, just straight up metal, which we end up getting stuck with straight up metal bands all the time anyway. Or like, we could, there's so many different bands that I'm sure we would go over well with. So it's like, to me, it's not necessarily about like music genres and stuff like that. It's just, writing from feeling, and like, I like to write cool stuff, or stuff that I think is cool. Um, and, uh, and if it falls into a category, that's cool, but not something on my agenda. But that's okay though.
Okay. Awesome. Now, I've already kept you for half an hour, so I'm going to ask you this last question. We always ask first time guests if I can speak properly now on the channel. We call it a poser question to make sure we are talking to people that do have knowledge of the genre that we are discussing, if that is okay.
Hold on, what?
We ask this question to all of our first-time guests that appear on Thrashers Paradise. It's kind of become a tradition here just to ask to see what different answers we do get from this question.
Okay, I
Okay.
get it. What are you talking about? I
Excellent.
understand now.
Mercedes,
Yes.
who would win in a fight, Lemmy or God?
Oh, Lemmy. He's probably like, because he's dead now, so he's probably fighting him right now. That's probably why all this shit is happening.
Awesome.
Any other weird questions about Lemmy?
No, that's the main one we ask.
I'm gonna tell you a really funny Lemmy story before I get to leave, before I leave you alone. On the internet back in the early 2000s, there was a weird rumor going around that I was dating Lemmy, and I was like 18,
Oh.
and I had never met him, and it was really weird. So that's my funny story. There was like an internet rumor, like on like because back then it was like message boards. It wasn't like, it wasn't like social media didn't exist. It just didn't exist. So, on the message boards and stuff like that, there were like weird rumors that I was dating Lemmy.
Really? No.
Whoever thought that one up, that's very far-fetched, because he was super old then. And I just not my idea of a good time. But anyway, I figured you would enjoy that.
Thank you. That is amazing. Thank you for that little tidbit of facts that we have here on Thrashers. Mercedes, I just have to say thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with me to discuss nocturnal transmission.
Mhm.
From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much.
Hey, you're welcome.
Before I let you go, is there anything else you would like to say to the lovely people that are going to be watching this on YouTube?
They can just, head on over to our Bandcamp, thewhiteswan.bandcamp.com, and they can check out all the fun stuff that we have there. And we're on all the streaming platforms and stuff like that, like Apple Music, Spotify. And if you really want to, because we did talk a lot about our videos, you can check our videos out on YouTube and see what I'm talking about. And I bet you anything, you will not know that both of those videos were shot at a gym and a yoga studio.
Mercedes, thank you so much again.
Hey, you're welcome.
And until next time, everyone, keep on thrashing.